Welcome to my crypto world. Today we're going to be talking about Bigfoot tracks and Bigfoot track castings. Welcome to another episode of my crypto world. It's been a couple weeks or so since I've actually had time to do an episode. I've been out in the mountains a lot ginsening and things like that, but today I had a little extra time and I thought it was time that I do another episode. Today I want to talk about Bigfoot tracks and Bigfoot track casting. I know when I first got into Bigfoot myself, into the aspect of making plaster casts, I didn't really understand or know what it took to make the casting, but this is a long time ago, of course. And I know I've seen many, some of them are actually researchers who've been doing it for years, and some of them are new researchers that they don't really know how to make a track casting or what material to use. I'm going to show you something. Let me get it here out of the floor. This is a 8-pound tub of plaster of Paris. You can actually find it at Walmart in the crafts department, or if you have a hobby store or a craft type store, you should be able to find it. It's just it's very simple to use. You mix it with water and pour it into the casting. But there's some other things I'm going to get into to help you talk about that, to help you prepare your casting. But it's called plaster of Paris. You can find it in small tubs and buckets at like Walmart or any hobby or craft store. But now I prefer to buy the bigger, the 8-pound buckets, and usually you can find them on eBay for around $8, $10, $12, something like that. So if you're gonna be making more castings, or you think you'll use a lot of it, I would recommend getting it off of eBay. How I do mine, I know a lot of people, you've seen them, you've probably seen researchers who make track castings and they've got a big 5-gallon bucket and they're trying to drag it out to wherever they found the tracks. I don't have the luxury of really doing that. I guess you call it a luxury. I think it's a burden, but to carry the big bucket around. Where I'm at in the area I live in, if I find tracks, normally it's going to be off the beaten path. It's going to be, a pretty good hike, and lugging a 5-gallon bucket full of your materials back through the mountains around here would be very difficult. So what I do, I put me some plaster in Ziploc bags, the bigger Ziploc bags, and I normally just carry enough plaster with me to do 1 or 2 tracks, and I carry it in my backpack. As far as mixing it, I carry water with me, of course, but around here we have a lot of streams and creeks where if I did need water, I could get it and add to it to mix it up. And I mix mine right into the Ziploc bag. I pour the water in and use my hands on the outside of the bag and mix it up real good, and then pour it into my track. They also, I don't use them, but they make a cardboard thing that you can put around the track that holds the plaster from spreading out. But if you're in the mountains or something, you can actually just use dirt or something like that, just some kind of loose soil, and build it up around the actual track. That way the plaster don't spread out all over the place, and it actually stays, you got a little more form to it that way. But like I was saying, the little cardboard things that you can find them online. You may be able to find them in a hobby store or craft store or something like that, and they're just a little flimsy cardboard thing that you can set up around the track, and you pour it over top of over the track, and it holds the plaster in, which is fine. If you can use one of those, that's okay. I just prefer to use dirt, or just pour it down into the track, and what little bit filters out, I just don't worry about. But it's just something you can use if you can, if you got the means and and the need, you could use the little cardboard thing, but I just sooner use dirt or something. What else can I tell you about actually making a casting? Well, for my taste, I kind of like to make mine, when I mix my water into my plaster, I kind of like to add a little extra water to make it kind of more thin. It takes it a little bit longer to dry, but where it's more thin, you'll get more details in the track itself. Normally though, even when you pour a track, it's about 30 minutes or so. Usually it's set up enough that you can take it out of the ground. And now how I do mine when I take it out of the ground, I know a lot of people may use different kinds of tools, but I have a real stiff butter knife, and I just stick it in around the track and just saw the dirt out from around it and take the whole track up. And then of course you got your cleaning and all that you have to do later. And there's various degrees of that according to how much time and effort you want to put into that. But you have to be careful in your cleaning, because if you're not careful, you'll clean either some of the detail away, or you'll clean it in such a way to make it appear that you got dermal ridges. So you have to kind of be careful there. I actually have a casting I want to show you today. I did not have the pleasure of making this casting. I have some of my own casts, but I like this one here because it shows a specific detail that I want to make people aware of. At least it's a theory that we have. This actual track casting was taken in Oregon by Crypto Crew team members Bobby and Corinna Long. The track is unique in a couple of aspects. There's something unusual about it when it comes to a foot track. The main thing is that it only has 4 toes. It's not that the 5th digit didn't show up. It's just that it only has 4 toes. This was taken in July of 2013. What is unusual about this track, other than it being 4 toes, is that it kind of adds credibility to a theory that many of us have heard and think is very possible. If you'll notice, this has some overlapping over at the top, above the tracks. This was actually another foot track. So there is a theory, and I'm apt to believe it, is that the smaller Bigfoot or Sasquatch, or what you want to call them, they actually walk in the footsteps of the larger one. So this cuts down on the amount of foot tracks. If you say you have 3 Bigfoot going through an area, and the 2 following Bigfoot walk right in the path of the leading Bigfoot, it cuts down on the number of tracks. This could also be a reason why there's not as many tracks found sometime. But I think this is really, I'm going to show it to you again, I think this is really a good example of where you can see right through here, and there's the toes from the other one, that it was a track within a track. And the theory is, like I say, that they do that to help conceal the tracks, and I think that's very possible. But that was an interesting find. I got stuff on the table, but that was an interesting find back in 2013, and I just wanted to make this little this episode of My Crypto World to show people what we use for track casting, and give them maybe some tips on how to make a casting and how we kind of do it. I know a lot of researchers do struggle, especially if they maybe, because a lot of times you see them making cast tracks and stuff on TV, but they don't really tell you what they use or their technique of how they do it. So I wanted to share that, and I normally just use plaster of Paris. It's fairly cheap, and it's easy to work with. You just pour water in, stir it up, and pour it in whatever you want to make a mold of. It's pretty easy. So I wanted to make this episode of My Crypto World to show you the track casting, and to show you the material that we use and kind of how we do it. So I guess that's it for today, for this episode I should say. I hope you found, you know, the information useful, and I hope you enjoyed seeing one of the track castings that we have. That does it for this episode of My Crypto World. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you found the information helpful, and I hope that you will tune in for the future episodes. And be safe out in the field, and I hope you find some tracks to practice your casting on. And if it's not a Bigfoot track and you want to just practice, you could use your own handprint or footprint or a bear track or a deer track. It's just that way you got some practice at doing it. So, but I wish you guys the best, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.